Hi there, and welcome to Aniplot Recaps. The story begins with our main protagonist Ayumu Aikawa. Ayumu Aikawa is a zombie who was brought to life by the necromancer Eucliwood Hellscythe after being killed by an unknown assailant. A month since then, Eucliwood has been living with Ayumu as he continues to search for his killer. While searching a graveyard, Ayumu encounters a chainsaw-wielding masou-shoujo named Haruna fighting a giant demon bear known as a Megalo, cutting through Ayumu to defeat it. Haruna attempts to erase Ayumu's memories afterward, but he inadvertently absorbs her magic. Haruna decides to stay at Ayumu's house until the matter is resolved. The next day, Ayumu is approached by a crayfish like Megalo. Haruna arrives but is unable to summon her magic, so Ayumu uses his zombie strength to pummel the Megalo. He then discovers that he can use Haruna's magic to transform into a masou-shoujo, costume and all, to finish him off. After landing and facing humiliation from his classmates, Ayumu is informed by Haruna that he is to fight the Megalos in her place. Episode 2. A week after the Megalo attack, Ayumu's dinner time is suddenly interrupted by the appearance of a vampire ninja named Seraphim who requests the assistance of Eucliwood. Wanting to replace Ayumu's role as Eucliwood's servant, Seraphim challenges him to a fight to which Ayumu just barely manages to win. Seraphim decides instead to become Ayumu's servant and live with him so she can be close to Eucliwood. Ayumu recalls the night when he first met Eucliwood. Later that night, Ayumu came across a house being attacked by a serial killer, and was stabbed by a sword in the process before Eucliwood revived him as a zombie. The next day when Haruna gets into an argument with Ayumu and tells him to die, Eucliwood slaps her, saying death isn't to be taken lightly, so Haruna apologizes to her. Episode 3. Ayumu goes bowling with his classmate, Orito, where they happen to run into Haruna, Eucliwood, and Seraphim who have been spending the day playing games together. Ayumu tries to keep Orito from finding out the girls are living with him but fails miserably. Afterward, Orito takes Ayumu with him to visit a girl named Kyoko who was injured in the serial killer incidents. Once alone with her, Ayumu asks Kyoko about her attacker, whose description supposedly matches that of Eucliwood. Episode 4. While wondering if he should suspect Eucliwood, Ayumu is attacked by a Doberman Megalo named Kerberos Wanzard, though he stops when he recognizes Eucliwood. As he takes his leave, he mentions taking the soul of someone being killed, so Ayumu decides to follow him. Kerberos tells Ayumu about how Eucliwood takes on people's pain when she heals them. After arriving at the crime scene, where the soul had already been sacrificed, they are both stabbed and Kerberos is killed, with Ayumu unable to make out the killer's face. Upon returning home, Ayumu talks with Eucliwood, who explains that in order to keep her magic under control, she can't express emotions or speak any words. Eucliwood cries, wondering if Ayumu hates her now that he knows this, but he insists that he will stay by her side. The next day, the city is attacked by a giant whale Megalo, which Seraphim and Ayumu in masou-shoujo form fight against. After Seraphim cuts it, Ayumu utilizes 1000% of his masou-shoujo form's power to kick its head off. Episode 5. To stay alive, Seraphim drinks a little blood from Haruna, kissing her as an anesthetic. As the girls take their bath, Ayumu takes a call from Haruna's teacher, Dai-sensei, who tells her she originally planned to send Haruna to Kyoto to get some tofu, but she ended up in Tokyo instead. Ayumu then gets a call from Kyoko, who agrees to meet up with him to give him some Kyoto tofu. As the two meet up at the graveyard, Kyoko suddenly stabs Ayumu, revealing herself as both the serial killer and a masou-shoujo. She tries to kill Ayumu, but Haruna and Seraphim arrive to back him up. Although Kyoko still has the advantage of using powers similar to that of Megalo. As Ayumu transforms and joins Seraphim in fighting her, Kyoko reveals she decided to start harvesting souls to become immortal. Ayumu manages to grab hold of Kyoko while Seraphim stabs through him to get to her. However, she manages to survive and wounds Seraphim, forcing Eucliwood to step in. Episode 6. Eucliwood negates all of Kyoko's attacks and manages to transform herself into a masou-shoujo, which brings Ayumu to the conclusion that it was her who had absorbed Haruna's magic to the strength of her own. Taking the fight elsewhere, Eucliwood uses the power of her words to kill Kyoko over and over. However, Kyoko manages to stop this by tearing her eardrums and attacks Eucliwood with a powerful explosion. The explosion then knocks her unconscious. Resolved to protect Eucliwood, Ayumu manages to get up close and negate Kyoko's magic before killing her down to her last life, which he decides to spare. Dai-sensei appears to take Kyoko home in order to re-educate her, but another evil presence possesses Kyoko and escapes with her. Eucliwood mentions the presence was that of a zombie that she was forced to kill when it was consumed by malice. Episode 7. Ayumu gets Haruna and Eucliwood to help him study for an exam so he doesn't have to go to summer school. Following the exam, as Ayumu searches for Haruna, who sensed a horse Megalo during the exam, he gets a call from Dai-sensei asking him to hold on to a certain something. When Ayumu enters the battle, he is double-teamed by a group of jellyfish Megalo, but is rescued by a ramen delivery girl, who manages to defeat the Megalo with her tonkatsu soup. She is revealed to be a vampire ninja named Maelstrom. When Haruna gets annoyed with Ayumu ignoring her, she pushes Ayumu onto Maelstrom, making him kiss her accidentally. Maelstrom later takes Ayumu and Seraphim to her secret base and explains how they use a machine to rain tonkatsu soup on hordes of megalos. After they leave, Seraphim reveals that, because of the kiss earlier, according to the ninja code, Ayumu and Maelstrom are now considered married. Afterward, Ayumu and the girls celebrate Tanabata. The next day at school, Maelstrom, who is known as Yuki Yoshida in school, declares her married status to Ayumu's entire class. Ayumu also discovers that the item Dai-sensei wanted him to hold on to his X-ray glasses. Episode 8. It is revealed that the X-ray glasses are for Seraphim. Haruna has a weird dream involving Ayumu trying to kiss her. Yuki asks her friends, Taiko Hiramatsu and Kanami Mihara, for advice on how she can learn to like Ayumu, trying various things such as a homemade lunch or walking him home. Meanwhile, Seraphim receives a secret message. Haruna finds Ayumu and demands a date. He ends up inviting all of the girls and the next day they all go to the mall, where Haruna becomes annoyed at Yuki's attachment to Ayumu. Later Haruna asks Ayumu to kiss her, but she settles for pummeling him instead. When they return to the others, they discover Eucliwood has gone missing. Episode 9. Eucliwood is confronted by the zombie who she thought she had killed. Meanwhile, Seraphim reveals that she had received orders to kill Eucliwood since her clan believes that her magic is attracting megalos. But Ayumu manages to convince her to abandon the mission. The zombie then threatens to harm her friends and that causes Eucliwood's emotions to waver, summoning a large Kappa doll that lands on top of Haruna and starts crushing her. Dai-sensei arrives and knocks the Kappa off of Haruna, only for it to land on Yuki instead, who then becomes possessed and summons a weapon named Mysticore which goes out of control. Mysticore prepares to self-destruct, but Ayumu manages to embrace Yuki and stop it from happening. As the zombie takes his leave, Eucliwood becomes afraid she may hurt her friends and decides to leave, leaving behind a note for Ayumu. Episode 10. Months have passed but Ayumu and the others have been unable to find Eucliwood. Having disobeyed her orders to assassinate EU, her fellow vampires ordered Seraphim to be killed. A violin is delivered to Ayumu's house which Seraphim takes an instant liking to. Later, Ayumu, Haruna, and Seraphim encounter the other zombie, named King of the Night, who attempts to kill them. His main purpose was to lure Eucliwood back. However, they are rescued by the arrival of Yuki and the other vampire ninjas, who force the King of the Night to retreat. As Yuki tells Ayumu about King of the Night's location, Seraphim finds Eucliwood outside his house but King of the Night kills her by stabbing her in the back. The King of the Night forces Eucliwood to come with him after she ensures Seraphim's survival. Ayumu and Haruna later arrive at King of the Night's house before the vampire ninjas arrive, but King of the Night places a time bomb on Haruna's head before escaping with Eucliwood. With the bomb hopping between Haruna and Yuki, Ayumu takes the bomb on his head so it can safely explode in mid-air. Episode 11. The girls manage to find all the pieces to put Ayumu back together, but he does not wake up. Dai-sensei appears and sends Haruna's mind into Ayumu's self-consciousness, where he is blaming himself for being too weak. Haruna manages to knock some sense into him, allowing him to wake up. Later, Ayumu and Haruna appear before the King of the Night and Eucliwood, while Seraphim, who had drunk Eucliwood's blood, stands against the gateway to the demon world. Using the violin to play a soothing song to fight off the hordes of Megalo, coming through until the other vampire ninjas arrive to back her up. As Ayumu struggles against the King of the Night, Musultan reacts and convinces both Ayumu and Haruna to transform into mahou-shoujos, allowing them to overcome the King of the Night's mist. Although Haruna is separated from Ayumu in the process, Ayumu then proceeds to beat King of the Night up for not understanding Eucliwood's feelings. The King of the Night came to understand Ayumu and Eucliwood finally agrees to let him die. Afterward, Ayumu begs Eucliwood not to leave again and she responds with her voice that she'll stay with him no matter what. Haruna then flies in from the sky, crash landing in front of them. She tells them she flew across the world, and then was surprised to hear Eucliwood's voice. Episode 12. Ayumu, Haruna, Eucliwood, and Seraphim go to an indoor swimming pool where they also run into Yuki, Taiko, and Kanami. Seraphim is shocked to find her fellow vampire ninja, Sarasvati, under the alias Karara Hoshikawa, performing as a net idol. Dai-sensei brings out a device that allows Eucliwood to swap her magical ability with Ayumu, allowing her to sing as well. The machine breaks down mid-performance, but Haruna uses some of her magic to let Eucliwood keep singing. However, Ayumu, still with Eucliwood's magic, speaks his mind and puts all the girls in skimpy bikinis, leading to a swift punishment. Thank you for sticking with us throughout. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. Remember to leave your thoughts in the comments box below. See you and take care.